Okay, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I know we have a full room here, people spread out across North America, South America, and some EMEA counterparts here. So we have quite a global group. Oh, good morning. My name is Andy Fian. I've met most of you on the call here at some point or another. I'm part of the North America Pre-Sales Organization. And today we're hosting this session to focus primarily on Enable Now Web Assistant. So obviously this has been a major talking point and a major point of contention for most of us over these last 18 months. But there have been tremendous improvements over the past 2 quarters that I would really like to highlight today. So I'd like to focus today on the following topics. Let me go ahead and share my screen. And can someone out there let me know that you can clearly see my screen?
Can see it.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. So today, what we're going to start with, I want to start with a current state of Web Assistant. So what is the current coverage? So where can this be leveraged? I know that's a topic that our customers and partners ask every day. So I just want to take a moment to go through each of those applications where Web Assistant can be used. Then I want to move forward and talk about where Web Assistant is going. So that's always the follow-up question to what can Web Assistant do today. So I'm going to walk through the roadmap. Of course, the roadmap is not set in stone. We can never make a firm promise to a customer that certain functionality will be available on said date. But this is the vision of where we're going moving forward. Then I would like to look into certain aspects of the Web Assistant configuration. So I know this is particularly frustrating for people because most of the time when you see a configuration screen for the first time, you've been on site with a customer. So today I want to show you how some of those parameters work and why they may be valuable to you. So there are several new parameters that are extremely helpful, and I want to highlight what those are and show you how that works. And finally, each of you are going to be able to log into your own environment where you can create, edit, publish content using the Web Assistant. So I know most of your interaction in the past has typically been when you're working hand in hand with a customer. So today I want to really have this serve as an open workshop where you can create content on your own. I think this is very helpful to get the hands-on experience when speaking to a customer. I know that's how I learn. So are there any questions about the agenda or the topics that we're going to cover today before I get started? Please feel free to jump in and ask a question. I want this to be open-ended and not just me speaking for a few hours. Okay, if nothing yet, then I'll jump right in and we'll talk about the current coverage as it stands today in August of 2019. Now, I know some of you have seen this presentation before, but there's been some updates, so I just want to go through each of the applications one by one. And if there's any questions, please go ahead and jump in and ask. So the first application where Web Assistant was made available was, of course, S/4HANA. So for S/4HANA Cloud customers, for S/4HANA Cloud, we have the Web Assistant configured by default. So there is nothing that the customer, there's nothing that the implementation partner needs to do in order to configure the Web Assistant in S/4HANA Cloud. So they would see access to all of the latest content. So that's both talking about the learning tutorials as well as the context-sensitive help. So the help tiles, link tiles, and guided tours. So all of that content is visible to S/4HANA customers by default. If that customer wants to be able to see or create their own content or customize that content, they would need an Enable Now license. So this is when sales are pushing to S4HANA Cloud customers that they get all of this content for free. Of course, they're able to see the standard content. They're able to see all of the standard content for free, but if they want to edit or modify that content or create their own content, that's when the Enable Now license would be required. So S4HANA Cloud, this requires the least amount of hand-holding. So this is set up by default, and each quarter that is automatically upgraded. Now, I know that many of you are part of the user enablement jam group, but after this call, if you like, I can extend that invitation to you. This is an external jam group that shows us the standard content that's available today. So that's across all applications. So after this call, I will extend the invite to everyone who's part of this particular session today. Now, moving right along. S4HANA on-premise. Now, anyone who's worked on an Enable Now implementation for an S4HANA customer knows that this is the most complicated piece of the puzzle thus far. So, for S4HANA on-premise, Web Assistant has been available for 18 months. However, that original setup can be a bit tricky. And the most difficult piece of this is that it's hard for us to recreate this in a classroom environment. And the reason for that is that we would need a unique S4HANA environment with unique S4HANA catalogs for each and every person. And that's just not feasible at this time. So in my perfect world, I'd like for every one of you on this call today to be able to configure an S4HANA system, but we don't have access to be able to do that in a demo environment. I've been asking this for 2 years, believe me. So what makes this a little bit complicated is the concept of the web dispatcher. So for those of you who have set up Web Assistant for an S4HANA customer, you know that first the customer needs to set up the web dispatcher. Once that has been successfully set up, the customer then needs a Fiori catalog and a Fiori role dedicated to Web Assistant. Now, you will be happy to know, or you'll be happy to hear that this piece, the web dispatcher piece, this is going away. So this is part of the roadmap. I hope that the web dispatcher requirement will be removed by 19/11, so November, but this may be pushed out until February. But just, you can breathe a breath of relief knowing that this implementation process is being simplified. So this is a major, this will be a major improvement for our S4HANA on-premise customers. So the need for web dispatcher, that is being eliminated, and the setup of Web Assistant will be much more straightforward, similar to the way it is for other cloud platforms products.
Hey, Andy, can I?
Yeah, go ahead, jump right in.
So, most of our customers, when they're expecting us to do the web dispatcher piece, they're not setting it up themselves because they don't have the skill set. And at least in the past, there's complexity as far as what they're hooking up to, and the documentation didn't really hit the mark. Have we done a better job of getting that kind of more improved? Or, I mean, and actually, typically what we were doing is we were having to reach out to the guys in Germany to basically jump in on those pieces. Is it still the case right now, or is it?
For the web dispatcher piece, that's the unfortunate reality until that's removed.
Okay, so we're still working with the guys with Germany?
Yes. And believe me, there's no one that wants that piece simplified more than they do. So that is at the highest that is of highest importance to the development team is to remove that piece, because obviously, as you know, that can be quite a headache. So believe me, I've been there in the trenches doing that same piece as well, and it is a headache. If I had any hair left to pull out, that would have caused me to rip it all out. But that piece, the web dispatcher piece, that requirement is going away. So I'm still optimistic that November will be that time frame, but it very well could be the next release in February. But just rest assured that is a major focus for the development team. And later this morning, later during this session, each one of us is going to log into an S4HANA environment. And we now have the ability to create and edit content in the demo system. So everyone is going to be able to get some hands-on experience today in an S4HANA environment. However, the web dispatcher piece, we won't be able to do that, but at least we'll be able to get some hands-on experience within S4HANA today. And this is something that I have only had access to just in the past 3 weeks here. So I wanted to make sure that I shared this with absolutely everybody. Okay, so the training or the standard content that was available for S4HANA Cloud, that content is also available for S4HANA on-premise. So all of that content that's been built out by SAP Education, so all of those contextual help, the guided tours, and the tutorials, all of that content is available for S4HANA on-premise as well as S4HANA Cloud. And again, I will extend the invitation to that jam group, to everyone on this call, so that you'd be able to see what content is available for each solution. Are there any other questions specific to S4HANA before I continue to move through the list here? Okay, and if I'm moving too quickly, too slowly, please feel free to chime in. I am open to feedback. I want this to be an open-ended session, so please feel free to speak up. Okay, so SAP Marketing Cloud. We do have Web Assistant available in SAP Marketing Cloud as of today. And there are also learning tutorials. So those are our simulations. So both the practice mode simulation and the standard guide available for SAP Marketing Cloud. There are also contextual help icons that have been created for SAP Marketing Cloud. So again, anytime you see context help, that's referring to the help tiles or the hotspots that hover on a particular screen. So at this point, there aren't any guided tours, but as you know, with each release, there's additional standard content that's being rolled out. So each and every release, each quarter, there's additional content being rolled out. And this you would be able to see in that jam group. You can always see what content is available for what application, and then by release. So SAP Marketing Cloud Web Assistant is available and it's activated by default. SAP Digital Manufacturing Cloud. So again, Web Assistant is configured by default. However, in this case, there's contextual help, so meaning the help tiles with the hotspots, and a small number of guided tours. But here, there is not any standard tutorials, so the practice mode simulations or the standard document output or work instruction. So these sequence of slides, and I shared these this morning, I sent these out in an email. This is the guide that I typically, this is my quick reference when a customer asks me on the spot, is Web Assistant available in this application, and is there standard content available? So I just keep this handy so that I can always have a quick view of what's available as of today. And if anyone did not receive that email from me this morning, I will send it out. I can send it to you directly. So this is just a simplified version of what you will be able to see in that jam group. Okay, SAP Integrated Business Planning, or IBP. Web Assistant is also activated by default. So with these last three solutions that we've looked at, the Web Assistant is activated by default. There's no additional configuration that needs to be done from our end. So unlike S/4HANA on-premise, the setup for these is quite simple. It's already configured for you, and there is standard content available. But it's always important to note what standard content is available. So in this case, for IBP, we do have those standard learning tutorials available, so the practice mode simulation and the work instructions. But for IBP, there are not yet any guided tours. So customers will always ask me what content is available today. This is simply a quick view for me to see what is and is not available as it stands today, August 2019.
Quick question, Caroline here. Hi.
Yes. Hello.
Hi. You said, though, it can be on-premise and cloud, and it's activated in both cases. Is that correct?
So it's activated in cloud by default. On-premise, it just needs to be enabled. So there are a couple of parameters that need to be turned on in order to see the Web Assistant in IBP. So have you seen the parameters, the Web Assistant parameters for SuccessFactors before?
Is it just these switches that you flip?
Yes, it's those three switches, and
Yeah.
then there are three parameters that can also be entered.
Yeah.
So after we get through this session, after we get through this segment, I'm going to show you those parameters as well and how we can adjust them.
Okay, I'm not familiar with integrated business planning as such. So is that part of the SuccessFactors cloud?
This is part of the Intelligent Enterprise, but it's not part of SuccessFactors. So it's just it is an SAP cloud offering, but it's not part of the SuccessFactors umbrella.
Okay, thank you.
And to be honest, I don't use IBP on a regular basis either. I have seen it, so I'm familiar with what it looks like, but it's not something that I use on a daily basis.
Okay.
So most customers that I work with, the current focus for them is S4, SuccessFactors, and Ariba is a major topic, and we'll come to that in just a moment here. So SuccessFactors. This is probably the product that the customers ask me about most frequently. So we are going to spend some time on SuccessFactors today because this is really a popular topic of conversation. So as of today, Web Assistant has been available in SuccessFactors since 1805. So since May of last year, the last 5 releases, Web Assistant has been available. And since that initial rollout, the functionality has improved exponentially. So I was on the ground with a customer the first day that 1805 was released, and that was quite a bit of fun getting everything to work correctly on day one. But now, I'm happy to say that this setup and the functionality, the performance is substantially improved. And we're going to go through the full setup of SuccessFactors after we get through the web assistant coverage here. So something that's important to note for customers, there is the tutorials, so the practice mode simulations and the work instructions are available for SuccessFactors, but there is not any contextual help yet. So there are not any help tiles, so there aren't any hotspots or guided tours created for SuccessFactors yet. So customers have the ability to leverage the standard tutorials that have been created, but they do not yet have the ability to see guided tours and contextual help. They can build that on their own, but it's not built standard by SAP Education yet. Now in SuccessFactors, so one of the major frustrations for SuccessFactors has been that many of the users of SuccessFactors are not part of a company's Active Directory, or they're not part of that company's network. So I personally had several customers in late 2018, early 2019, who wanted to use Web Assistant for SuccessFactors, but they were not able to because all of their users were constantly being prompted with an Enable Now login window. So even before they clicked on the question mark, they were being prompted for an Enable Now login window. So we now have a parameter that will suppress that login requirement. So for our customers who have external users of SuccessFactors, they're able to still use SuccessFactors without being prompted for login credentials. And I'm going to walk you through which parameter will accomplish that functionality. So I'll show you specifically in SuccessFactors how we are now able to do that.
Andy, this is Dominic here. A question on
Hey, Dom.
is it that you are saying that they don't need to be prompted to access the web assistant side, or just SuccessFactors alone?
So historically, the way that the user authentication was set up, if a user, let's say you're the user, so Dom logs into SuccessFactors. Once you are in Employee Central or recruiting, you would be prompted. Enable Now in the background would look at your credentials. It would make sure that you had an Enable Now license as soon as you logged into SuccessFactors. So long before you click on that question mark, Enable Now was looking to see if you had credentials to view content. So this was causing major frustration because a lot of SuccessFactors users were not part of the customer network. So what this new parameter has done is it will wait until the web assistant question mark is clicked before it looks for login credentials.
Gotcha.
And this parameter was only added in, I want to say the June or the May release this year. This is only been available for this most recent quarter. So I'm going to show exactly what parameter that is, and I'll show you why that's so helpful.
Hey Andy, this is Dirk here. Yeah, I'd seen that on the 1908 release, and I was kind of curious as to exactly what it did, so that clarifies things. One question I've got though is, does that stop, even if you do have an ID and you've got single sign-on, you're in Active Directory, you get that thing saying you have now been authorized or whatever it is. So that blue message that you get, they're not even going to, or no users are going to see that anymore until they click the question mark. Is that correct?
Correct. Until they click the question mark. So what that parameter does is it's essentially telling Enable Now. It's saying, hold on, wait, do not look for any credential until the user's looking for help.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yes, because that has been a headache for several customers, and that was just released. It was actually added after the 1905 release. So you would have only just seen it now for this upcoming release at the end of this month. But that is a major improvement in my eyes, because customers will regularly have external people using SuccessFactors. So this is incredibly important, even beyond SuccessFactors, but that was the major pain point for us in recent months.
And what happens if a user doesn't have credentials then? Isn't in the Active Directory, hasn't single sign-on, has no user?
They would see a message, something along the lines of, you're not authorized to see this content. So they're still able to work in SuccessFactors, but they would not be able to see the Enable Now content.
And they also don't get redirected to the standard content then?
So that is something that's being discussed daily right now. So in a perfect world, we would like for them to be able to see the standard content. But right now, there isn't a differentiation between users who are only able to see standard content and users who are able to see customized content. So that topic, what you just asked, this is an ongoing conversation, but we do not have that ability yet.
Okay.
So right now it's one or the other, which is frustrating, but we're trying to get to the point where those users, so the non-Active Directory users, can see standard content, and their internal employees who have Enable Now licenses can see customized content. So it's an ongoing discussion, but that's not something that's available yet today. Are there any other questions so far, either on specific to SuccessFactors or Web Assistant in general? Okay, then I'm going to continue through. Now, many customers will use the Fiori Launchpad to host some other application. This could be certain transaction codes within ECC, or this can even be another external bit of information. I've seen customers use this as a portal. So the Fiori Launchpad can also have the Web Assistant configured within that. So if you do have customers who are running ECC through a Fiori Launchpad, we are able to use certain functionality of the Web Assistant. So right now, this is very basic. There are a couple of contextual help icons on the screen. And as you can see, there's one guided tour. But the idea is that the Web Assistant will ultimately be able to be configured in any true Fiori screen. So right now, this is still quite early. So I tend to mention that this is part of our roadmap. This is what's coming. But any application that's running through a true Fiori Launchpad will ultimately be able to have the Web Assistant configured. And in each of these slides, there are hyperlinks to the specific integration manual and SAP notes. So I know someone mentioned earlier, I don't know, but I haven't used integrated business planning. So we have specific links within this document that would bring you to that content. And I haven't used all of these either. I just used this particular deck as a reference point when customers ambush me with questions that I'm not familiar with.
So Andy, this is Darwin. Down at the bottom there, extensibility scenarios not available, not part of the roadmap. So we only get SAP content, and we don't have the ability to extend anything here?
As of right now, so where this gets a little fuzzy for me, let me see what the next one is. So where this gets fuzzy to me is when this is linking you to other applications like SAP GUI for HTML or like WebDynPro, because both of those will be supported ultimately, and they will have extensibility. So this comment here, I will have to go back and get clarification on, because it doesn't seem in line with what some of the other applications are supporting. So Darwin,
Yeah,
I just added that as a note because I thought it in the past. I just haven't had clarification on it because there's so many moving pieces.
Right. Yeah, okay. What I understood was if the app is WebDynPro or UI5, then you're going to be able to extend simply because it's part of the package.
Yes.
But this may be talking about, you know, non-fiori links to external things like that. Okay, yeah, it would be good to have some clarification on that.
Yep, I just added that on my notebook here. Because you're right, that if it is running in UI5, then we will be able to extend content, which means customers can create their own. So I would like a little more clarification as to exactly what would be limited.
Yeah, one of my customers is running Lumira, you know, and in theory, with this latest release, they can run it, and it's basically a UI5 interface.
Have you been able to test it in their preview environment yet, or not yet?
No, haven't. In fact, I'm not even on that thing anymore. So somebody else is going to have to give that a shot. I'm sure we'll hear if it's not working.
Oh, I'm sure. Okay, but I added that on my list of questions to take away, and I'm sure I'll be adding to this list all morning.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, SAP Cloud Platform. This is just sort of a rather vague statement here. So with the SAP Cloud Platform, Web Assistant is configured by default, and there's not yet any learning tutorials. So this more detail will come about this. This is quite vague. But with Cloud Platform, more detail to come. Okay. This is a topic that has come up a lot recently. So Cloud for Customer. I've had several customers in the past, 3 months that have been flooding me with questions about Cloud for Customer. So the official support for this product is scheduled for 19/11, which is November, but we could test this today. So we have the ability to test the Web Assistant functionality in Cloud for Customer today. So we'll go through some of the URL parameters that would be required to test this with customers today. So I've done this with multiple customers already. So if they want to see what the functionality will look like, or if their development team wants to start to create certain hotspots or guided tours or link tiles, we are able to test this today. But this C4C support, this will be a major focus in the 1911 release. So a lot of customers have been asking about this. So the official support is scheduled for 1911, but it's something that can be tested today. Okay. Now, this topic, when we had our release notes for the 1908 release, this was certainly my biggest frustration because I know how badly the business wants this. So for Ariba, the Ariba support for Web Assistant has been delayed until Q1 of next year. So technically speaking, we have been able to leverage the Web Assistant in Ariba since earlier this year. But there are complications with the licensing of Ariba that make Web Assistant very difficult at this time. So the functionality is there to support Ariba, but it will not be supported until the beginning of next year. So believe me, this is one of the higher priorities, is to provide Web Assistant support for Ariba, but that's not available today, and it won't be until early next year. So when customers are asking about Ariba, you can say this is absolutely part of the focus for the beginning of 2020. It's not available today, but this is on the immediate roadmap. Okay, and I know this does not provide any concrete dates, but the ultimate goal is to provide Web Assistant support across the entire Intelligent Enterprise suite by the end of the next calendar year. So whether we're focusing strictly on contextual help, like hotspots and link tiles, or the full extensibility scenario, there will be some form of Web Assistant support across the Intelligent Enterprise by the end of the next calendar year. And if you have not received this already, each of you will have a copy of this deck so that you can field the questions from customers accordingly. Because I know that there is an awful lot to keep track of. This is just a quick reference so that you can see which solutions are covered today and what is planned for the future. All right, are there any questions so far? I know I've done an awful lot of speaking in the first 35 minutes. Are there any questions so far about where Web Assistant is currently available or where this may be going to?
Oh, hi, Andy. This is Nicole. I just have questions about Solution Manager because I know that a lot of customers are being asked to upgrade to 7.2. And I saw in a posting in the learning room for Enable Now that there's some functionality with Web Assistant and Solution Manager 7.2.
I just saw that update this week. So let me see what I can share. So give me just one moment. Just going to stop sharing my screen. Let me see what those dates were.
Okay, thanks.
Because I had just received that this week. Just one moment from here. Okay. So as of Wednesday this week, Solution Manager 7.2 that's run in Fiori now has Web Assistant coverage. So it hasn't officially been publicized yet, but that functionality is now supported. I just received that update this Wednesday at 12 o'clock. So that's fresh off the press. It hasn't even been added to our matrix yet.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Let me get back to sharing my screen here. Are there any other questions about current coverage or upcoming coverage regarding Web Assistant?
More of a general question for Web Assistant. There used to be this SAP Fiori trial was a website available for everyone, and you could run a web assistant demo from there. And for clients, they bought S/4HANA and they had never heard about Web Assistant. That was a great way to show them what this is about, and then they could play it through and show to the management. And this seems to be unavailable since a couple of months. Is there anything else?
Yes, there is. So what I'm going to have everyone on this call do, and I'm going to start these steps here, and then I'm going to pause the recording just while we troubleshoot and get everyone set up. But essentially, our customers now have, so customers, partners, internal SAP, external, everyone has access to what's called the SAP S/4HANA Cloud Trial. So this is a 14-day cloud trial that you can renew as many times as you like. What you are referring to is the Fiori demo. They retired that in March in favor of going with this.
Okay.
So I'm going to put this link in the window. And I know that some of you are going to have some trouble with authentication, and I will be able to help you with answers to that. But I would like for everyone to register for this S/4HANA Cloud Trial. At the bottom, it says register for free. So in this link, can every person, where's my chat? All right, here is the S/4HANA Cloud Trial URL. So if everyone can click that, and I would like for you to register for your 14-day trial. And I know that some users are going to run into issues with authentication. So this is something that we'll work through together. But I just want to give a quick moment so that everyone can try to register for free to the S/4HANA Cloud Trial. Most of you will see this screen that I currently see. It says, tell us about yourself. Because I am internal, it's automatically recognizing my single sign-on. So I would like for you to be able to create your own login, or if you have a C user number, to enter those credentials. I'm going to go ahead and pause. I'm going to pause the recording just for 3 minutes while everyone can try that. So pause recording.
I'm watching, so I can.
So Andy, one more question before you get started.
Yep, go right ahead.
Windows 7, Windows 10, Macs, where does it run best?
So where does it run best? I would say a Windows 10 machine.
Okay.
Yep, I would say Windows 10. But with Web Assistant, if you're only using the web functionality, it should work on any Chrome, IE browser. I personally use a Windows 10 machine in a Chrome browser, and I find that's where it works best.
Do we need that Chrome add-in?
It's set up by default in all of my work areas. I don't think that would be stopping this temporary trial from running.
Okay.
But if I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again so that you can see why I had everybody do this. Okay. Now, when I go ahead and share, oops, not that one, share. Can someone give me the confirmation that you can see my screen?
Yes, Andy, we can see it.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. So once you have created this 14-day trial, the 14-day trial, once you log in and click the home button, you will now have your own S/4HANA cloud environment. The URL should be very similar to what I see at the top of my screen. So it's this my 300194 S/4HANA. So this is my link. And by default, with all S/4HANA cloud systems, the web assistant is configured by default. So this, to answer that original question, this is how I typically demo the web assistant to customers. So I can show them the standard content that's available. But something I just found out this maybe 3 weeks ago is I can connect my demo S/4HANA cloud trial to my Enable Now manager. So for the first time ever, I am now able to connect this trial URL to my Enable Now manager so that I can create and edit content here. So I'm going to share with everyone how we do this, but essentially I will, let me go ahead and show you.
Andy, let me ask you a question.
Yeah,
Go
ahead, Brian.
Well, we're PMC. We're supposed to be getting these trial environments, but we don't have it yet. So we could actually do this to our PMC environment?
As long as you can connect this to any Enable Now manager.
Okay. I get we could. I just wanted to make sure it was okay.
Yeah. Go. Yep.
Okay.
Go right ahead. So
what you're saying is everybody's got their own version of the trial version. So if I connect here to my manager, somebody else can do the same thing.
if they had access to your manager URL and your work area ID, and they were a user in that work area.
Okay, so it's a personal configuration thing even on this trial.
Yes.
Well, we've got those demo ones that he gave us, Darwin, on that one email he sent.
Yeah, no, I'm understanding. I'm just saying this isn't just a generic, everybody gets the same view and everybody gets the same access. It really is, you can set up your own and make it yours instead of the generic one.
Yeah,
that's very cool.
What's generic is the start of the URL. So this part right here. But what I'm going to show you is how we add something very important to this URL that would then direct this back to your manager.
Nice.
Andy,
Okay,
does
thanks.
this also work for, Andy, does this also work for if you have an on-prem manager, or is it only for SAP Enable Now Cloud?
It would be any Enable Now manager. So
Okay.
that's the beauty. This can be on-prem, it can be cloud. The most important thing is that the content that we're now able to build by adding a parameter here, it's stored in your manager, and then you can take that content and apply it to any other S/4HANA environment. So Brian, as PMC, you guys are creating content. You're able to create this locally in your manager, and then you could repurpose that.
Is there a specific version of manager we should be using?
So I personally connect to an S/4HANA cloud environment, so it's always up to date.
Right.
But I don't know what the minimum requirement would be for this. I can ask. What's the minimum? I will ask about that.
Thank you.
It's probably 1805.
I would imagine 1805 as well, but I want to make sure. I would assure you that you can't go back to WPB 9.5 and attempt something like this. But I think 1805 or
Yeah, it's probably whenever they allowed extensibility.
Yeah. But we are still restricted to HANA, aren't we?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
So so everyone can still see my screen? You can hear me clearly?
Yes.
All right.
Yep.
So what I want to share, one moment. And I had a feeling that this would capture everyone's attention. Okay, now what we are able to do, and sorry, let me pull, I wasn't planning on going into this until after we took a short break, but let me pull something up. So give me one moment. Okay, recording's back. I'm sharing my screen. Now, I've had each of you request that demo for your own 14-day trial, just as I have. I followed the exact same process. So I every 2 weeks, I simply renew my 14-day trial. And from there, once you have a 14-day trial, you are then able to add certain parameters to your URL. And I will send the parameters in the chat window. But essentially what we're doing, we are taking our S4HANA cloud URL. And from there, we are adding certain parameters to the URL, which will allow us the ability to create and edit Web Assistant content. So instead of having to set up a Fiori catalog, to set up the web dispatcher, to go through all of those headaches to get this set up, we are able to add simple parameters to the URL itself that would allow me to send content back to my manager work area. So let me try to simplify this for you. What we're doing, so here we're adding several items to a specific URL. And what we see here in yellow, this is what makes this unique. So Darwin, you had asked, how is this being mapped to a specific work area, or how is this, unique to me or to us? We're adding specific parameters to the URL that's going to direct this back to your work area.
Perfect, nice.
The first value, and we're all going to do this together, is this help editor equals true. That is what gives us the pencil icon on the Web Assistant carousel. So notice, by default, in my new 14-day trial, when I launch the Web Assistant, I'm only able to view content. I do not see a pencil. That's because I have my normal URL here, or this is just my 14-day trial. As I add parameters to this URL, I am adding this edit help equals true, or help dash editor equals true. So this is giving me the ability to create and edit content. I'm then specifying what version of S4HANA are we referring to. So when I share a URL with you, everything's going to be the same in your URL minus your manager and your manager work area ID. So for me, if I wanted to manipulate this URL, I take my original URL and I am adding parameters to that. So here, I'm taking so here's my 14-day trial, and then I'm adding certain parameters, like help editor equals true. Then I'm telling this URL where I want that content to be added. So first, I'm adding what is the manager URL. And secondly, what is the work area ID? So watch what happens when I take this new URL. So instead of the one that I had created, if I take that and add those additional parameters, when I click on the question mark, I now have the pencil. So the pencil comes from the help editor equals true. And then when I go to edit content, I can see what manager instance this is associated to. When I say show in manager workplace, it's showing me what work area this is now connected to. So this is exactly what I just connected to. This morning, I sent you each a spreadsheet that gave you login credentials to a demo system. So now that you have a 14-day trial, we are able to create and edit content in your very own S/4HANA instance. Is there anyone out there who was as amazed as I was when I figured this out 3 weeks back?
This is so cool.
Thank you. I appreciate the enthusiasm. Because this was really the first time that I was able to create, edit, and publish content in S/4HANA without being inside a customer's environment. So this was the absolute first time that I was able to truly play for myself and learn how to use all of the new features and functions in the system. Now, what I would like for everyone to do right now, actually, let me open up. Are there any questions about what this is or what we're doing here? Why it's important? Why would you even care? Are there any questions at all about what this is?
Continue using this US demo version with the user that you set up, or will this be deleted at some point?
This will be deleted in the next week or two. But you are able to associate this to any work area that you have access to. So who's asking that question right now? And are you internal or external?
Caroline from Germany, I'm external as a C user, but I have access to the demo version that Frank Stör put up. I'm just not sure if I can like dump all the content in there. But I can probably ask him if that's okay, or if he can provide like a German demo version for this.
Yep, that's exactly what we would do. So,
Okay.
these demo credentials, you'll have access for a few days to play around here. But after that, we want to make sure that you have access to a manager ID. So whether it's an on-premise manager that you have set up, or if it's a cloud instance that you have access to, as long as you have the manager URL, this piece, and a work area ID, this piece, we're able to create and modify content in your 14-day S/4HANA Cloud trial.
And does that necessarily need to have that connected work area where we download the content from that web assistant server?
It doesn't need to.
Okay.
No, it does not need to.
Hey, Andy, John Stedman, quick question.
Sure, go ahead, John.
I did attempt this about a week ago, and I think I must have something wrong in my URL. Would you be able to proof it for me?
Sure, I'm going to put a URL in the chat window. And I want everyone to copy and paste this URL onto a Word document or onto Notepad. And we are going to substitute values for you in here. Actually, first, well, let me ask the question. For those of you on the phone who have access to an Enable Now manager and you have access to a work area. Would you prefer to set this up for your personal credentials, or would you like to use the demo credentials that I sent out this morning?
Personal.
I was asking you to maybe proof my URL because I do have access to both, but couldn't get it to go.
So then I will give everyone the choice. If you have access to a personal URL, you can substitute your credentials where you see this yellow text. So what you would be changing is the demo US3 and the work area ID. Everything else for you will remain exactly the same. So did everyone receive an email from me this morning?
I did not.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, whoever did not, can you please put your, can you just mention that in the chat window to me? I'm going to send out an email right now with this piece here. And what we're going to do, we're going to substitute your manager URL and your work area ID into this link. That's all we're going to do. So I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to pause the recording just while I do this. So I will share again. I was just getting that email started to everybody in the group.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
I'm sending. So did anybody not receive an email from me this morning? Before I hit send, I just want to make sure that everyone received the first email from me so that you'll also receive this. Okay.
Oh, you know what, Zane? I bet you Zane didn't because he signed up this morning.
Okay.
And I forwarded it to him, so he may think he got it, but he didn't get it from you. He got it from me. Zane, you
Got it. I added him.
Okay.
Hey, Andy, it's Kai here as well. Would you mind adding me as well? It's Kai.
Hi. Okay. Yep.
Great, thanks.
And Kai, I'll shoot you the login credentials as well. Anybody else not receive any email from me this morning? I just want to make sure that you each see what you have here, or that you see what I'm about to send. Going once, going twice, sold. So I just sent each of you a URL. And what I would like for you to do is to enter your information where you see my yellow highlighted list.
Let's see.
And I'd like everyone to do this. And I know it feels like that we're wasting big time as a group, but this is probably the most important thing you'll take away from today's session. And John, I know you sent me your URL. If you could just go ahead and try to just take what I sent in that email and just insert your credentials there, even if it's the demo credentials from today's session. I just want to see if that works.
Okay, we'll do.
And if we're just going to use the demo one in the spreadsheet, the only things we need to change is the ws_cons_xx in 2 places, and everything else stays the same, correct?
Yes, for anyone out there using the credentials that I sent in the spreadsheet, all you have to alter is the number here, the ws_cons_01. 01 is me, and then each of you have a number as well. And Kai, I'll shoot you, I'll send you a quick email with that. Zane, you as well. I'll send it to both of you.
Appreciate it.
In the email that you send, there are a couple of escaped characters. Can we copy paste anyhow? Do we need to escape anything?
So the only thing, just one moment, just let me hit send and then I will.
Short answer, no, just copy paste as is. That's what I did. So after the HTTP and you've got all the escaped characters, that's fine, it will still work.
Okay.
Yeah, if you take it exactly as it appears there, that should work without any trouble. And remember, for those of you in a European domain, make sure that the beginning of your URL matches what your 14-day trial is. So for me, in North America, my trial was my 300194. I believe for Europe, it's 300197. So mine's 194. For those of you in Europe, just make sure that you're using the right trial URL. I know it's just different for the different domains. I'm not sure if South America is any different.
Andy, when I connect to my personal, or I guess like my own manager, when I click on the pencil icon, the carousel disappears.
Yep. Could I take give me 1 second here. Could you share your screen for a moment?
Sure.
And
are we still recording? Or
okay, we are back.
So real quick,
Yep.
In the comments there, is there a list anywhere of what the connectable work areas from the SAP content side are?
In regards to the extended content?
Yeah, to create to create a connected work area into the extended content.
Yeah, so for what you're doing for today's purposes, I just want you to add what's in this URL because this is actually identifying that you want the extended work area and you want 1905 content from the extended work area. But in regards to that, I'll show that after this afternoon when we talk about connected and extended work areas. But
Okay, perfect, thanks.
Yeah, today's for this purpose right now, just this URL is what is attaching you to that extended content or that standard content rather.
Okay.
So now that everyone now has their own 14-day demo trial. So that URL will never change. So this part right here, this will always remain constant. So as long as you go back and refresh your, just refresh your 14-day trial, this URL is going to remain the same. What appears after this in the URL is what's going to link you to an Enable Now manager. So that's where your web assistant content is going to be stored. So without further ado, I would like for everyone to start creating some web assistant content. Now, I hope that you're all logged into Manager as well. So I'm logged in using this consultant credential. So this is just like each of you were provided today. So I was consultant 01. I hope that nobody else logged in with my details. But what I'd like for everyone to do, just to confirm that their S/4HANA environment is linked to that work area, can everyone please click on the question mark? Now, if your URL is correct and you've added these parameters, you should now see the pencil. So just to break this down, the pencil is appearing because the parameter help editor equals true was added to your URL. So that's what's going to show that the pencil is visible on your carousel. Once that pencil is clicked, it's looking at my Enable Now credentials to make sure that I have authoring rights. So the help-editor equals true, that's going to show the pencil. Once I click on the pencil, it's looking at my credentials to see if I am an author. Now, what I would like for everyone to do after you click the pencil, I would like for you to please click on the little gear. And that gear says show or hide options. So remember, that gear is only visible when you are in edit mode. So notice, when I click the pencil, the gear will appear and this little plus sign will appear. So that's going to show me that I'm currently editing this particular screen.
And if the gear doesn't show up?
If the gear doesn't, are you logged into Manager?
I'm logged into Manager, but I think it might have.
No,
Have you made,
sometimes you
click
I think it logged me into a different
no,
version
click it
manager.
again. Sometimes you need to click twice. Click it
No,
again.
Yeah, and it kind of it disappears for a second, and then you take a beat,
Exactly.
and then it pops back up. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what